Hello and welcome to GJ Sports Blog's coverage of Leeds United. The intention is going to be to do a few videos a couple of times a week, just discussing the goings on at the club as we make our return to the Premier League after 16 years away. So I have a couple of points to talk about today, starting off with our first action of the season, where today a Leeds United team made the journey to Stoke to take on Stoke City. It wasn't a good result. We lost 3-0. Which obviously it's a friendly, and it's fair to say that it wasn't the best team we could have put out with quite a few players on. Obviously the new guys are on international duty. Phillips, Dallas, I think Meslier, Cooper, Click, quite a few as well on international duty. So the team went anyway. I've got the team line up here. It was Kiko Casilla, Luke Ayling, Barry Douglas, Oliver Casey, Pascal Struik, Leif Davis, Jamie Shackleton, Jack Harrison, Helder Costa, Pablo Hernandez and Patrick Bamford. We only had 4 subs with us, which were Ilya Capril, Ian Pavetta, Tyler Roberts and Robbie Gotts. As I say, we lost 3-0. I don't really know very much about the game at all because, Leeds have kind of kept it quiet. Haven't said too much about what happened in that, but from looking at the lineup, it looks as though it was strongish, like probably our first choice attack that ended the last season, but apart then from sort of the attacking positions, you're probably only looking at Luke Ayling from the kind of defensive side of things. But as I say, it was a 3-0 defeat. I think we only played 80 minutes as well, so it was 40 minutes each way. So something just to get a few minutes into the players' legs. Hopefully the guys that are on international duty will see some minutes as well. But as I said, it wasn't a good result. Pre-season friendly or not, you know what Bielsa's like. Bielsa's the kind of guy who'll probably hold an inquest into why we haven't won enough coin tosses before games and stuff. So obviously he'll have plenty to take away from that. But it is what it is. I'm not entirely sure whether we've got many more friendlies lined up or what. But this one didn't go that well. But as I say, we're 2 weeks away from Liverpool, and there's plenty more players to come in. So hopefully we can do a bit better once the real matches start. So, to begin with then anyway, moving on from the disappointing defeat to Stoke, we've made a couple of signings, quite good signings as well, and whenever you look at it on paper, obviously Rodrigo and Robin Koch, or Koch, we're not sure exactly how he's pronouncing that, but a Spanish international and a German international, so you can't be bad to that. So I've sort of had a wee look over their careers and stuff, and obviously, Rodrigo is a player myself am familiar with. I've watched a lot of Spanish football, so I am quite familiar with him. But I had a wee look at some of his some information about him and stuff, just different wee things. So I thought I would bring that up. So he's 29 years old. He was actually born in Brazil, in Rio, but he moved to Galicia in Spain and played with Celta Vigo. Apparently his father opened the football school in Vigo with Mazinho, who was the member of the Brazil 1994 World Cup winning team, and also be probably better known now for his children, Rafinha and Thiago Alcantara. Thiago's obviously on his way probably to Liverpool. He might even play against us then in a couple of weeks' time. He moved to Real Madrid and played for their B and C teams before he moved on to Benfica. Whenever he went to Benfica, he was only like a teenager at the time, so he was loaned out to Bolton as a 19-year-old and scored 1 goal against Wigan in the Premier League. And then he returned to Portugal with Benfica and scored 45 goals in 120 games. He won the treble with them in the 2013-14 season, and he played in back-to-back Europa League finals. If you remember, they lost to Chelsea Benfica. I think, if I remember right, Ivanovic scored a header really late on in that game. And then the following season they got back to the Europa League final and lost to Sevilla. Obviously Benfica have a bit of a thing about losing finals ever since the curse was put on them all those years ago, supposedly. It's quite an interesting sort of situation about how he left Benfica. Peter Lim, who owned Valencia, and is also probably well known in England for being a part owner of Salford City with the Man United lads. They call themselves the class of '92, but obviously we all know who the real class of '92 was. But yeah, so Peter Lim actually bought his rights in January 2014, and he took over at Valencia, and then Rodrigo went on loan originally and then signed for the club. There was a few players around that time. I think Andre Gomez, who was at Barcelona and then went to Everton, was another one that was a similar sort of situation. So at Valencia, he's played 220 games, scored 59 goals, and he was part of their Copa del Rey team in 2019, which beat Barcelona in the final. Barcelona were like 2 games away from winning the treble, and they had quite a good season, obviously domestically. Like, won the league comfortably. And then they had the meltdown at Anfield, and then a few days later they lost the Copa del Rey final against Valencia, so it kind of ended up a per season. But Rodrigo was in that team. Obviously born in Spain, or born in Brazil, moved to Spain, so he's a Spanish international. He actually made his debut back in 2014, but he didn't play again until I think it was like 2018. So he's 8 goals, and I think maybe it's 20 something games or something for Spain. So it's quite a good record. He's done well there. As a player, to me, he looks like the kind of guy that's gonna fit the Bielsa style. He's a bit like, you can actually see kind of similarities between him and Bamford, where like they're both hard workers. He could play obviously striker, but he can obviously maybe play a bit out in the wing too. So you might even see them together at times. But I think he's similar in style and similar in attitude to Bamford, but I do think he's a step up. He's not going to score 20 goals this season, I don't think, but he's just basically the next level Bamford, and that seems to be what Bielsa wants. He'll probably, like, if you played both of them the same amount of games in the Premier League, I think he would score more than Bamford, but at the same time it's not going to be, your 20-25 goal seasons. He's not going to be baller in the golden boot, but he's the kind of player that'll fit in the Bielsa team. So he was the first signing. The next signing then was the German Robin Koch. I'm not entirely sure that's how you pronounce it, but we'll go with that. So he's 24 years old, and sort of from having a look at him now, I don't watch so much Bundesliga, so I got a wee bit of help on this guy. With a few other people, so I've been searching the internet and reading different bits about him, and then spoke to a couple of people who would follow German football and that. So what I have on him, as I say, he's 24 years old. He was born in Kaiserslautern, where his father Harry was a player. Kaiserslautern, obviously, they used to be a great team, kind of around that period in the 90s. They won the DFB Pokal, which is the German Cup, and I'm nearly sure they got relegated that season that they won the cup. And then they won straight away. Then they come straight back up, won the league, and then they won the league again. The following season, so like they won the second division and they won the first division 2 years in a row at that time. Remember them? I think they got to like a quarter final of the Champions League and stuff. So he kind of, as a youth team player, he followed his dad's path. He was at Kaiserslautern's youth team, and then he went on to Eintracht Trier youth team, and he broke into their second team, into their first team, and then he went back to Kaiserslautern, into their seconds and into the first team. He signed for Freiburg in 2017, and he's been there for 3 years, and he made 87 appearances for the club. He was a German under-21 international, and now has 2 caps for the seniors. I think he played in the German under-21. I don't know if other people remember, but it was the German under-21 team got to the final. They got to the final. Gianluca Waldschmidt scored a lot of goals for them, had a good tournament. He was a part of that team, and as I say, he's now went to the seniors. So from what I'm hearing, centre back, he can play defensive midfield as well, so you're covering 2 birds. It's kind of like the opposite of Phillips, where he's like a defensive midfielder but can play centre back, but this guy seems to do the opposite kind of run. I did speak to a friend who is a Freiburg fan, He runs the SC Freiburg UK Twitter account. So I asked him, like what the situation was and what we could talk about. So basically, what he says was he seemed to be a good character that seemed to be popular with the squad. He was friendly with an Australian international called Brandon Borrello, so he reckons that he's probably quite good at English, which obviously, playing defence is going to be important to have good communication with your teammates. He reckons that he should be able to cope with Bielsa's intensity coming from Freiburg because Christian Streck is a similar sort of driven coach who demands a lot of his players, and he thinks that it's going to be a good fit. As I say, that account is SC Freiburg UK, so it's at SCF_UK. You'll be able to see it there. I think it's in the top right of the screen. So you'll be able to see it, and if you want to go and find out anything more about Freiburg, obviously you can go and have a look at that account. So, moving on from that, we've got two in, and it seems that there's obviously, at the minute, Leeds just seem to be linked with everyone. I'm even seeing a few rumours, like players being linked away, loans, and obviously Tyler Roberts have seen with Derby quite a bit. But there seems to be two main rumours that are kind of being talked about the most at the minute. So I thought I would have a look at these players and see what information I could get on them and what we think of them. So the first one then is a young Croatian centre back, Josko Gvardiol. Again, who knows if that's pronounced right. My Croatian's probably as good as yours, so I'm not sure. What we do know is he's an 18-year-old left-footed centre back, plays for Dinamo Zagreb. At the minute, people are talking about 20 million euros being the fee for him, which is obviously, like, to me, for an 18-year-old centre back, it's a lot. You translate that into pounds, and you're talking something like 17-18 million, which, like, until the weekend, basically was Leeds' record transfer fee for Ferdinand way back. So I think the 16 years out of the top league is kind of got me fearing that fee. 18 million pounds for a kid seems ridiculous, but I suppose this is what being in the Premier League is and modern football is. So anyway, from what I'm getting, he's a hard worker. He's supposed to be strong, technically quite good and physically good. He'll be 19 in January. He's only been playing. He made his senior debut less than a year ago. He came on as a sub last October, and I believe that he came on as a sub, played a couple of minutes, and then his next game he basically made his full debut and scored, which I think to this day still his only goal. But he made 9 starts and 2 appearances as a sub last season. So he had a run of 6 starts in a row, just kind of as COVID ended, and just as COVID came and the league was suspended, and then after COVID. So far this season he hasn't played in the league, but he did play 66 minutes against Cluj in the Champions League qualifying last week. So, as I say, 18 years old, Dinamo Zagreb and Croatia in particular are producing good players, so they have the right to be asking these bigger fees. The more evidence you have that you're getting a good player, the reputation grows and the price grows with it. So I don't know. To me, it seems pricey. I can see that Leeds are obviously looking at younger players. There's quite a few have signed this summer already, but like for the price that he's being quoted as, I would expect he would be going somewhere close to the first team squad. Obviously there's room in the first team squad for a defender because really we've only got the German and Liam Cooper at the minute because obviously Ben White's at Brighton doesn't look like he's coming back at the minute, and Berardi obviously can cover and has covered in there, and I don't know how long he's going to be out for, obviously after the injury picked up at the back end of the season there. So I think there will be movement somewhere with regard to defender, but whether it's this young Croatian that I don't know. Another big rumour that's going about at the minute, and one, to be honest with you, that actually genuinely excites me. I do watch a lot of Serie A, and Rodrigo de Paul seems to be linked. Like, to be honest with you, if we could get him, like, to me it would be a massive massive signing, a massive statement from the club. So the information I have on him here, so he's a 26-year-old attacking midfielder. He signed up for Racing Club as an 8-year-old and debuted for their first team at 18. That's back in Argentina. So he made 57 appearances for their first team before he moved to Valencia in 2014. He played 44 games for Valencia, and then he was loaned back to Racing Club under Gary Neville. So, Gary clearly had an eye for a player whenever he was at Valencia. And results matched that, so I'd not be too concerned that Gary Neville didn't think much of him. In summer 2016, then he moved to Italy with Udinese, and this is where, he's really come on strong in the last couple of years at Udinese. So since he signed, he's had 24 goals and 24 assists in 4 years in Serie A. The last 2 years in particular have been brilliant, where he had 9 goals and 8 assists, and then 7 goals and 6 assists. He's regularly started now to get into the Argentina team. He's got 17 caps. To me, he's genuinely, he's a quality player. He's a player, kind of the sort of player that I really enjoy, where he's a midfielder, but he gets in the box, and he'll do his bits, and then he gets in the box, he scores goals. He's that kind of player that can win you a game. I know they're talking something around 30 million for him, which honestly, if a team coming up getting promoted out of the Championship, and you told me that a player like Rodrigo was going to be coming, I'd be completely amazed by it. So if we get this guy, I would genuinely be really happy and excited. Obviously, the Argentina connection could help with Bielsa, which might push us over the edge. He's maybe always wanted to play in England. He's already played in Spain. He's already played in Italy. I have seen a couple of rumours that Napoli and Lazio were interested in him, which obviously Lazio could offer him Champions League football, which obviously he can't. Napoli, I'm not sure if they got into the Europa League or not, but they were obviously pushing. I know they definitely didn't get into the Champions League. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, as I say, he's a very, very talented player, and would be a great addition to the Leeds team, especially just in that position, and the amount of money. I genuinely thought if we were going to be looking at somebody in that kind of position, you would be looking 50-60 million, and it was probably going to be above what we could do. For some reason, I'm not entirely sure why he's available for 30 million. It's maybe a contract situation, but if we could get him, do it. He would genuinely win matches in the Premier League for us, and he's, as I say, one of the better players in Italy, despite not playing for a good side, where he's pretty much took on Udinese and kept their heads above water over the last couple of years. So that's all I have for today, but obviously I'll be keeping an eye on rumours, signings. If we find out about any more matches, I'll be getting in contact and going on. But all that remains, as I say, is hopefully maybe you'll give the page a like or a subscription, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.